pretty much because of Shichida that we're thriving at the moment.
It's
All right, let's relax probably.
My name is Yoshi.
Marie.
And also we have a kid. Both of us had Shichida program when we were children.
When we were
Babies.
toddlers.
Yeah, I remember.
Sorry.
I really enjoyed Shichida when I was young. I'm now doing PhD. Like thanks to Shichida, I could develop my cognitive ability. I'm doing research about mental conditions using brain imaging.
I went to Shichida a bit probably earlier. I was crawling, so I think I was somewhere around 7-8 months old and up to 5 years old. We both grew up in Japan. We moved here post-COVID. I worked as a doctor. I was a doctor back in Japan, and I think we do two different things. So he does research, I do more clinical work. I do believe that I learned a little bit of English through Shichida as well when I was in Japan.
What I remember is doing flashcards. I did the flashcards about national flags and the name of capital city. It creates my basis of my knowledge. I remember the name of capital city since then. And
when I was pregnant, he was trying to tell to the tummy, so essentially he was saying all of the capital cities that he remembers from the Shichida ones. Just engraved, I think, in us.
Yeah. When I was a primary school student, my cognitive ability is kind of on the higher side in the class.
We had a head start in primary school.
That gave me more knowledge and more cognitive abilities.
Confidence too, I think. But not necessarily you need to do really academically well, but if you are having a head start at school, that makes, as Yoshi pointed out, that makes schooling more enjoyable. That gives you the joy of learning, which is pretty much, it's lifelong learning as long as you live. We were excited.
Yeah, we were so excited. Yeah, we didn't expect we could find Shichida here. I thought Shichida is only in Japan, but we found it in this chat.
It was very coincidental.
Yeah.
Very coincidental. So we just
find the sign.
And then we were like, is that the Shichida that we know?
Yeah.
we knew it even before we had. So obviously, we knew it before we become pregnant. We were just walking in the shopping center and then we just found this. We still remember I was over my due date, so I was 41 weeks pregnant, and we had nothing to do. We were like, oh, do we maybe want to just stop by Shichida and then maybe have a flyer just in case? So that's what we did. Shichida has formed a basis for us growing up as human beings in society. One thing I like about Shichida, I think, as parents, and then just seeing you just join the class. Even in the 1-year-old classes, the 10-month-olds, the 12-month-old, they all sit on a table and a desk, and then they observe what the teachers do, and then they follow that. It doesn't look like discipline, but there is some discipline there. And that is very similar to what a school environment has, giving you that discipline. There's a teacher, you want to follow what the teacher does. And that's how you can be creative in later life. You learn from your teachers, and that's how you kind of play around with whatever is in front of you. The earlier, the better for any kind of learning is our opinion. This is regardless of early childhood learning, but also if you want to learn a new language, if you start earlier, it's never too late, people say, but also you are the youngest in your entire life on that day. So we do believe that you are more flexible in learning, you acquire a lot more, and you just absorb much better, and then you digest much better being young. And that's regardless of the baby's age. Yes, 3 years old, 0 years old, they're both young, but also just starting early in life as possible is what we believe in order to just absorb a bit more. People used to think that babies' brains are like a blank canvas and you can do whatever you want, and then that's why early learning is important. But I think it's apparently the other way around. So it seems like babies' brains, they have so much potential. When people grew up in certain environments, they drop those abilities that they were born with. So they're actually, what they're doing is not increasing those abilities, but they're actually dropping that down and optimizing to the best condition in that certain environment. A lot more stimulation, the better, because it's less likely that babies are going to drop down those abilities, and that is going to stay hopefully until later life, meaning there would be lots more that you'll be able to do later in life as well, creating a lot more opportunities. The things that you get in Shichida, it is fun learning, but it's also tasks for the children. And being able to conduct those tasks and being able to problem solve towards that single task, I think that is something important. And also in this age of like AI and things like that, the process is probably going to be more important, because the AI is going to just give you some answers, and then you need to validate those information that you've obtained from AI. So in order to do that, I think the problem skills are going to be crucial.
AI today, all of them are based on the previous literature and the previous articles, and they are very helpful to learn something. But if you want to create something creative, you have to create on your own. In order to be creative, you have to have good cognitive abilities and good working memory, or good memory, or good processing speed. And I think in that sense, Shichida is very helpful to build the basics of the cognitive abilities. I think that concentration is another important soft skill. By doing that task for children, enhance the ability of concentration. And concentration is very important for everything. And I think Shichida programs gives me a lot of power of the concentration.
It's a mixture of a lot of things. It's not just flashcards. When people, even in Japan, when they hear the word Shichida, they believe it's just flashcards and drills and things like that, like sitting down and just doing paper on pen kind of work, which is not actually the case. So it's a combination of hands-on skills, fine motor skills, and also just those memory concentration through the flashcards. And then also I think repetition every week is also something that helps a lot, because it builds a routine. So I think what I've been observing for that he likes certain songs. So when we sing that along, he claps his hands, he just smiles. He loves music a lot, and that's what I've kind of known through Shichida. So because I've known that he claps his hands and he smiles a lot while the songs are on, and that's how I know that he's actually probably liking music. A lot of learning for us too as parents of what they are good at and what they're not. We're Japanese, so I think a lot of Asian cultures, I think studying is like torture for some kids. Whereas I think that's something that we don't like the idea of studying being torture, because studying is essentially learning, expanding your capacities. So if we can do that and if we can enjoy that, that's going to be more than ideal for us. It's not a sensory class. It's not a music class. It's not a movement class. It's just a combination of everything. And that's probably what I like. As I said, I think it's just about learning, memory, and then those fine skills, discipline, everything in one class for 50 minutes. That's how learning should be. It's not a single skill that you need to focus on. It's the entire skill, and those skills are interconnected with each other. So compared to, for example, you go to music and movement, yes, you are working on your movements, you are working on your motor skills, you are maybe working on your music skills, just like that. But it's just it's just a wider variety, just combined.
I think, yeah, that's a good point.
I've heard Yoshi say the basis of cognitive ability is 100 times already, but I think it really comes down to that.
Yeah.
I think it's the basis of every single thing. For us, we grew up with Shichida, so it was very natural that we enroll our kid. But for the other ones that's enrolled in the 0-year-old class, we were quite surprised to see how many people are interested in Shichida. I'm not gonna lie, because I assume that the parents didn't grow up with Shichida. We feel the same way as parents because we're re-experiencing as a parent again.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we had no questions enrolling our son, and that's how we think Shichida as. Like, it was essential in our life, and it's pretty much because of Shichida that we're thriving at the moment. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.